Oh. Hello again, you horrible lot. Welcome back. Where today we are 12 months down the line of when I bought this Harley. So I thought we'd go for a little bimble and give you my thoughts, my honest thoughts on this bike. Let's go. Now, I'm just going to start this review off by saying that I am going to be 100% biased towards this bike. Maybe not Harley as a brand, but definitely my experience and this bike, due to the fact that I have had an absolute whale of a time for the last 12 months. It's been unbelievable. I personally never thought I was going to buy a Harley. It was never on my radar. I was always like more sportier bikes, touring bikes, a lot more off-roady sort of bikes as well. And then to cut a long story short, a couple of my mates ended up buying them. I went and had a go on his, and I was a bit like, oh, it's quite nice actually. It's loud, it's brash, it's yobbo-ish. But it didn't quite, I wasn't like, oh, I want to go and buy one. And then obviously we all know the story of how I bought this bike. If you haven't, make sure to go and watch the first couple of videos on it I did back, Christ, a few months ago now. Everything from the way the bike looks, how it feels, how it sounds, that's my biggest turn on to this bike. It's just the noise it makes. It genuinely is unbelievably loud. That noise. It just sounds insane. I've had no mechanical issues whatsoever with the bike. None at all. The only thing I've had to do is change the brake pads out because wear and tear is pretty standard with any bike you own. So I'm sorry to any of you Harley poo-pooers that this one's been absolutely fine. It's actually super easy to work on. I've done all the servicing myself, oil changes and all of that. I know it's pretty self-explanatory kind of things, but you would be surprised at how many people don't actually know how to change the oil on a motorbike. So from a practicality kind of way of saving money, I've just done all the servicing myself. Fork seals, done those as well. They're all, you know, once you know how, once you've done it once or twice, it's like, yeah, it's actually not that difficult. Why are the roads so busy today? God, I just want to move. Moving. Yes. And that's the main thing I love about this bike, is the giggle factor. It makes me happy every time I ride this damn thing. Every time. Raining, windy, cold, boiling hot, I'm always laughing. Because I'm using it as my commuter now. Yesterday, piercing down with rain. Did I care? No. Did I have fun? Yes. Did I not want to go to work? Yes. But it has this ability to pull me out of any bad mood. Oh, I love it so much. Power wise, you can probably tell that it has plenty. It's not the fastest bike in the world by a country mile. It's got 69 horsepower and around the same sort of torque. This one I do believe has been fiddled with because it doesn't ride like it's standard. It doesn't feel standard. And it doesn't sound standard, other than the slip-on, but it's got way too many pops and bangs, etc. So I do believe we have had a sneaky bit of work done. For what I've used the bike for, and what I still use the bike for, it's been utterly perfect. It's got enough power that you can squeeze every bit of it out and enjoy the bike. I've had some bikes where it's got too much power and you can't ride the damn thing. This is kind of in the middle. Could it do with being a bit faster? It probably could. Maybe not faster, but more torque, a bit more power maybe. I would probably like it to have a little bit more. But that was a 4th gear pull, and it does just pull away. The torque, it does pull. There is enough torque there to get you out of a situation or into a situation if you like to ride like a yobbo. Not guilty. You can put it in 6th gear now, trundle along, and if you wanted to, well, let's see. 6th gear. So you just cruise in, and it just pulls. But it does that in every gear. When I'm out having a hoon, I very rarely go below 4th gear, because you can just lean into a corner and you know that coming out the other side, you've got that torque there to be able to just open the throttle up and not have a care in the world. It will just pull and pull and pull. And revs. Christ alive, this thing revs. So online, everyone's like, no, it doesn't rev past 5,000. Another reason why I think it's been fiddled with, this revs to 7,500. And it gets there. She's screamy, she is making some noise, but she does rev. More positives, the paintwork on this one, for instance, it's the gold/green. On the V5 it's actually gold, but it's not, it's green. It's got such a nice finish and the paintwork is so good. It gets so much attention when it's out and about. If I'm parked up with all the boys and we're out having a hoon, one, because it's not a very common bike, you don't really see many of them, so I think people are like, oh, what? Oh, it's a Harley, and then I don't recognise that sort of vibe. But at the same time, it's the design of the bike, I think, is really nice. It's very in between Sportster and Dyna kind of style. Obviously this one's got the tail tidy as well, so it does look a lot better with that. They look awful with the tail tidy. Possibly the worst time of the day to try and film a video because there's just so much traffic on the roads. I can't go anywhere. And as I mentioned, I'm now using this as my daily bike, basically. It's going to be my winter bike and summer bike. Fuel economy is obviously quite a big thing. You don't want something that's going to drink and drink and drink. But this, surprisingly, is not that bad. It's not my Versys. I don't get 300 miles to a tank. But it's got a 13 or just over a 13 litre tank. I think it's 13.1. And I average about 130 miles before the fuel light comes on. Now when the fuel light comes on, it says you've got about 25 miles of reserve. So you're looking at about 155, 160 miles to a tank. I've come close to 150 and it's still going. So I kind of do think that is correct. But it only cost me like, what, 16, 17 quid to fill up. And if you work it out miles per gallon wise as well, it's about 40 to 45, so it isn't actually that bad for a bike that I usually ride. Well, I suppose I ride it a bit like this. Nine times out of 10, I am tapped wide open. Maybe not at 6 AM when it's dark, wet and cold, I don't. I ride it quite sensibly, but my commutes home are usually quite spirited, to say the least. So yeah, overall, fuel-wise, is actually really good for what I use. My commute to work is like 12 miles each way, so it's not a big distance, but I'm doing it 5 days a week, so, you know, it all adds up. You know, let's say it's costing me probably just over 20 quid every couple of weeks if I ride it just for work. So it's pretty good, to be honest with you. I suppose another good thing about this bike, if you were to buy it from factory or nearly new, the tyres that Harley provide are made by Michelin. They're specifically for this bike. They're okay. They've done, what am I on now, 6,000 miles or just over, and they're only just now starting to need changing. They are a bit, yeah, well, they're not great at the minute. So they've done a purpose. I have ridden it pretty hard. For most of those 6,000, I've done a couple of little trips on it, or like big days on it. So they've been put to the test, and they've done the job. It's just effortless overtaking. The torque it's just the perfect amount. I'm sorry, I love this bike too much. love this bike. The handling as well, obviously the tyres play a massive part in that, but the actual geometry of the bike, it feels really good. Throw it into corners, the back end feels really nice. It's light enough. Well, I say it's light enough. It's about 240 kilos wet, so it's not that light. It's got that geek lump in between my legs, and it handles really well. Cons, there's not that many, to be honest with you. If I was going to be picky, the riding position is okay. It's not unbearable, you do get used to it. I remember the first week or two, my hips, I just couldn't get used to it, and after, I think it was the first day where I was like, oh, I've got a new bike, it's incredible. I think after that I was a bit like, oh my, am I actually going to be able to ride this bike? But you do get used to it, and it does become quite comfortable. Another con that probably goes in sync with that last point would be the handlebars. As I can kind of see where they went with this. They wanted it to be nice and easy to handle in like commuting sort of roles, and at the same time be sporty when you want to give her a good old spanking. I think they're just a little bit too far forward. You do feel like you're constantly like, ah, let's go, let's go. If they were just on risers that just bring you up a little bit, it would be less stress on your shoulders and neck. Again, it's not unbearable. Probably my biggest pet peeve with this bike is this thing, the dash. As basic as it is, obviously it's there to do a job, but I don't know if it's an American thing, but it's the opposite way around to what you would expect it to be. I love a digital dash. I like to know the speed I'm doing exactly, or you know, as close as it can be. The rev counter's digital, along with the gear shift number, but the speed is analog. I don't know. It's not a big deal, but when you're in a world of new bikes and cars that everything has digital dashes, and it just, I prefer it. It just feels weird having that. Like my Versys has obviously got a digital one, but it's nitpicking. It's not terrible. I just don't know, with nowadays, with the technology we've got, I mean, obviously maybe it's just because they've done it on a budget, they're keeping costs down, I don't know, but surely if you could do the rev digital, would it not be more beneficial to be the other way around? I don't know. Oh, it's just such a joy to ride. Such a joy. And when you're on these country roads as well, and you're just cruising, it's just lovely. It's just a lovely place to be. It just really is. I love it. I would implore anybody who is thinking about buying this bike to just go and get one. Test ride it. You won't be disappointed. It's one of those bikes that's overlooked, and I actually think it's got quite a big part to play in Harley's world. As much as they discontinued it after a couple of years, it genuinely is such a cool little bike. I love it. I'm probably never going to get rid of this. This is going to be a long term. I'm going to customise it. I'm going to do my own things to it. I don't think this bike's going to go anywhere, to be honest with you. Just listen to that noise, man. And there we are. Just look at it. Just look at it. Excuse the mud though. I love it. Honestly, if you are thinking about it, guys, just go and try one. Go and buy one. You won't regret it. If this video has helped you at all, guys, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think. Any questions or anything that I've missed or anything that you want to know, again, hit me up in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them as honestly as I can. But on that note, I am going to go make a cup of tea. So I shall see you in the next video. Ciao for now.